30 years. That's how long I'd been with Warner Manufacturing. 30 years of early mornings, overtime when they needed it, and showing up even when I didn't feel like it. So when they threw me a retirement party in the main conference room, I figured I'd earned it. The place was packed. Co-workers from every department, some guys I trained 2 decades ago, even the plant manager showed up. My brother Steven was there with his wife. A few neighbors. The cake had my name on it in blue frosting, and someone had hung a banner that said Happy Retirement across the back wall. I was standing near the refreshment table, talking to Grant from shipping about his new truck when I saw her walk in. April, my wife of 26 years. She was wearing that navy dress she usually saved for weddings, and she was carrying a manila folder. Something about the way she moved through the crowd made the hair on my neck stand up. Not angry, not upset, determined. She walked straight to me, didn't say hello to anyone, didn't smile, just stopped about 3 feet away and held out the folder. "What's this?" I asked. "Divorce papers," she said, loud enough that Grant stopped mid-sentence, loud enough that the conversations around us started dying down. I looked at the folder, then at her. "You're serving me divorce papers at my retirement party." "I am." She pushed the folder closer. "Everything's already filled out. You just need to sign." The room had gone completely quiet now. I could feel every eye on us. Someone near the cake table had their phone out, probably recording. I opened the folder. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Her signature was already on the bottom of page 3. My hands were steady as I flipped through the pages. Property division. Spousal support. All of it laid out like she'd been planning this for months. "Got a pen?" I asked. She pulled one from her purse. I took it, found the signature lines, and signed. Every single page that needed my signature. Didn't read the fine print. Didn't argue. Just signed my name in blue ink while 25 people watched in complete silence. When I finished, I closed the folder and handed it back to her. Then I leaned in close enough that only she could hear me. "You have absolutely no idea what you just did to yourself." I said it quietly, calmly. Then I stepped back and turned to Grant. "You were saying something about the transmission?" That's when I heard it. Clapping. My daughter Tracy was standing near the door, actually clapping. Slow at first, then faster. Then my son Arnold joined in. Both of them were smiling like they'd just watched their team win a championship. April picked up the folder and walked out. Tracy and Arnold followed her. Didn't say goodbye to me. Didn't look back. The room stayed quiet for maybe 10 more seconds. Then Grant cleared his throat and said something about getting more coffee. Conversation started up again, awkward at first, then gradually back to normal volume. My supervisor came over and asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine, and I meant it. I stayed for another hour, ate a piece of cake, shook hands with people who were leaving, accepted a plaque with my name engraved on it. When the party finally wrapped up around 8, I drove home to the house I'd been living in for 18 years. April's car wasn't in the driveway. Most of her clothes were gone from the closet. She'd taken the good coffee maker and her grandmother's china, but she'd left the furniture. I sat down on the couch and looked around the living room. The TV was still there. The bookshelf I'd built. The rug we'd bought at that flea market in Pennsylvania. My phone buzzed. Text from Steven. "You okay?" That was intense. I typed back, "I'm good. Talk tomorrow." Then I set the phone down and just sat there in the quiet house. Not angry, not hurt, just thinking about that folder she'd handed me and all the pages she'd filled out and the signatures she'd gotten from her lawyer. She thought she'd planned everything, every detail, every contingency. She hadn't. 3 months. That's all it would take for her to figure out exactly what I meant when I whispered those words at my own retirement party. 3 months, and she'd understand perfectly. The first week after the party, I didn't hear from April at all. No calls, no texts, nothing. I figured she was busy celebrating her newfound freedom with whoever had convinced her this was a good idea. I kept my routine simple. Coffee at 6, breakfast by 7. I'd spent 3 decades waking up early for work, and my body wasn't about to change now just because I didn't have anywhere to be. Tuesday morning, I drove to the bank. Not our usual branch where April knew all the tellers, but the one across town near the hardware store. I had an appointment with a banker named Sophia. Young woman, maybe 30, sharp as they come. "I need to make some changes to my accounts," I told her. She pulled up my information on her computer. "I see you have a joint checking account with April Barnes and a savings account in your name only." "That's correct. What changes did you want to make?" "I want to open a new checking account, just in my name. And I need to transfer funds from the joint account before the divorce is finalized." Sophia nodded like she'd heard this story 100 times. How much are we transferring? Half of what's in there. To the penny. She typed for a minute, then looked up. Mr. Barnes, I'm showing a balance of $8,462 in the joint account. You're entitled to withdraw your half, which would be $4,231. That works. The whole process took maybe 20 minutes. New account, transfer complete, debit card ordered. I walked out with a temporary card and a receipt showing my new balance. That afternoon, I went to see a lawyer. Not someone expensive downtown, just a guy named Shane Hopkins who had an office above the pizza place on Market Street. Stephen had used him for his will a few years back and said he was straightforward. Shane was maybe 50, gray hair, reading glasses on a chain around his neck. His office smelled like coffee and old paper. Your wife served you at your retirement party, he said after I explained the situation. That's cold. It was efficient, I said. He flipped through the papers I'd brought. The copies April had left me. Did you read these before you signed? Not carefully. Well, let's read them now. He put on his glasses and started going through page by page. After about 10 minutes, he sat back in his chair. She's asking for spousal support. I figured, based on what's listed here for your income and assets, she's probably expecting around $2,000 a month. That seems high. It's calculated based on the lifestyle established during the marriage and the difference in your incomes. She worked part-time at that boutique until last year, right? Right. Shane kept reading. When he got to page 7, he stopped. Interesting. What? She's claiming the house is marital property and wants it sold with proceeds split 50-50. We've been paying the mortgage for 18 years. Exactly. And according to this, she believes there's about $90,000 in equity. She wants $45,000 of that. I didn't say anything. Shane looked at me over his glasses. Is there something you're not telling me? The house is paid off, I said. I made the final payment 4 months ago. He blinked. The entire mortgage? Every penny. Took money from my retirement account. Paid the early withdrawal penalty. The deed's in my name only because I inherited the down payment from my father, and we set it up that way for tax purposes back in 1999. Shane set the papers down. Does she know this? She knew we were close to paying it off. I don't think she knew I'd already finished. So she's operating under the assumption that there's a mortgage and that you're both on the deed. Seems like it. He leaned back in his chair, and I swear I saw the hint of a smile. Mr. Barnes, I think we need to file a response to this petition. A very detailed response. We spent the next hour going through everything. My retirement account that I'd rolled over into an IRA the day after I signed the papers at the party. The savings account in my name only that April apparently didn't know had grown to $40,000 over the years. The truck I'd bought and paid off in my name because April didn't like driving it. When we finished, Shane walked me to the door. She's going to be very surprised when she sees our response. That's the idea. I drove home and made dinner. Chicken breast, rice, vegetables. Same thing I'd been eating for years because April always said red meat was bad for my cholesterol. But she wasn't here now, so tomorrow maybe I'd have a steak. My phone rang around 8. Tracy, Dad, we need to talk. About what? About Mom. About what happened at your party. Nothing to talk about. She wanted a divorce. I gave her one. You didn't even try to stop her. Why would I stop someone who wants to leave? Silence on the other end. Then, Arnold, and I just think you could have handled it differently. Could have, I said. Didn't want to. Mom says you're being cold. Your mother served me divorce papers in front of my coworkers, and you two clapped. I signed the papers and went home. That's not cold, Tracy. That's efficient. More silence. I have to go, I said. Leftovers are getting cold. I hung up before she could respond. That night, I sat on the back porch with a beer. Not the light stuff April always bought. The actual beer I liked, but never kept in the house because she said it was too heavy. 2 weeks down. About 11 and a half to go before April would start getting the full picture of what she'd actually filed for. Week 3 started with a phone call from April's lawyer. Woman named Betty Holt, sounded about 60, voiced like she'd spent 40 years smoking and yelling at people. Mr. Barnes, I'm calling regarding the petition for dissolution filed by my client. I got the papers, I said. Yes. Well, we haven't received your response yet. The deadline is coming up. My lawyer's handling it. And who might that be? Shane Hopkins. Pause on her end. I see. Well, please inform Mr. Hopkins that we'd like to expedite this process. My client is anxious to finalize the settlement and move forward. I bet she is. Excuse me. Nothing. I'll let Shane know you called. I hung up and texted Shane. April's lawyer called. Wants to speed things up. He texted back 5 minutes later. Let her wait. Filing our response Friday. That afternoon, I ran into Mia from April's book club at the grocery store. She was in the produce section, picking through tomatoes like she was looking for gold. "Oh," she said when she saw me. "Hi, Mia." She put down a tomato and looked at me with this expression that was half pity, half something else. Satisfaction, maybe. "I heard about you in April. I'm so sorry." "Don't be. It must have been such a shock." "Not particularly." That caught her off guard. "Really?" "But at your party, in front of everyone." She wanted to make a statement. She made it. We're both moving on. Mia picked up another tomato, studying it like it might have answers. "April's been staying with us, you know, just until she finds her own place." "That's generous of you. She's been through a lot. 26 years of marriage, and to have it end like this." I grabbed a bag of apples and put them in my cart. Mia, April ended the marriage. At my retirement party, with papers she'd been planning for months. She didn't go through anything except exactly what she chose to do. Well, she said you two had grown apart, that you didn't have ambition anymore, that you were just going to retire and sit around the house while she still had her whole life ahead of her. I'm 53. She's 51. We both have our whole lives ahead of us. The difference is I'm planning to live mine without someone who serves divorce papers in front of my coworkers. Mia's face went a little pink. She said you'd be bitter. I'm not bitter. I'm practical. I started pushing my cart toward the checkout. Tell April I hope she finds a nice apartment. The market's pretty tight right now, but I'm sure something will turn up. I didn't wait for her response. Friday came, and Shane filed our response to the divorce petition. He emailed me a copy that afternoon. 12 pages of detailed information about assets, income, and property ownership. Every single thing April had gotten wrong in her assumptions. The house, fully paid off, in my name only. The retirement account, properly rolled over and protected. The savings account she didn't know about. The truck, paid off, titled in my name. And the best part, a counterclaim for her to pay her share of the household expenses for the 6 months before she filed, since she'd been planning this whole time while still living in my house and eating my food. Shane had also included a very polite paragraph explaining that based on the actual asset division and the fact that April was perfectly capable of working full-time now that she was divorcing me to pursue her whole life ahead of her, spousal support would not be appropriate. I read it twice, then called him. "It's perfect," I said. "She's going to lose her mind when she sees it." That's what I'm counting on. That weekend, Tracy called again. Sunday afternoon, right when I was replacing the washers in the kitchen faucet. "Dad, Mom's really upset." "About what?" "About the response you filed. She says you're hiding money." "I'm not hiding anything. Every account, every asset, it's all listed in the response. She just didn't know about some of it because she never asked. She said you claim the house is yours." "The house is mine. My name's on the deed. I made every mortgage payment. I paid off the final balance 4 months ago. She can verify all of this with public records if she doesn't believe me. But you were married. Doesn't that make it half hers?" "Not in this state. Not when the down payment was my inheritance and the deed was set up in my name for tax purposes from day one. Your mother knew this, Tracy. She just forgot, or she didn't think I'd remind her." Silence on the phone. I could hear her breathing, thinking, "She's saying you're being vindictive." I signed the papers she gave me without arguing. I moved half the joint checking into my own account, which is exactly what I'm legally allowed to do. I filed an honest response to her petition. That's not vindictive. That's following the process she started. Arnold thinks you're trying to punish her. Arnold clapped when his mother served me divorce papers at my retirement party. I don't really care what Arnold thinks right now. "Dad, Tracy, your mother made a choice. A calculated choice. She's 51 years old, and she decided she didn't want to be married anymore. Fine, but she doesn't get to make that choice and then act surprised when it has consequences." I finished tightening the faucet and turned the water back on. No leaks. Perfect. "I have to go," I said. "Tell your mother if she has questions about the assets, she should talk to her lawyer. That's what lawyers are for." That night, I grilled a steak on the back porch. Big one, medium rare, with a baked potato and butter. The kind of meal April would have given me a lecture about. My phone buzzed. Text from Steven. Heard through the grapevine that April's freaking out about the house. "This true?" I texted back. "Very true. You're enjoying this." "I'm enjoying my steak. You know what I mean." I thought about it for a second, then typed, "I'm not enjoying it, but I'm not apologizing for it either." She wanted out. She's out. The rest is just paperwork. 8 weeks to go, and April was finally starting to understand what I'd meant when I whispered those words at the party. She had no idea what she'd done to herself, but she was learning. 6 weeks in, and the cracks were starting to show. I was at the hardware store picking up sandpaper when I saw Arnold. He was in the paint aisle, staring at color samples like they might tell him the meaning of life. He saw me before I could turn around. "Dad, Arnold." We stood there for a second, neither of us knowing what to say. Finally, he cleared his throat. "How have you been?" "Fine. You?" "Good." "Yeah, good." He picked up a paint sample, put it back down. "Tracy said you talked to her last week." "She called me." "Right." "Yeah." Another pause. "Look, about the party. I mean, we didn't know you were just going to sign everything right there. What did you think I was going to do?" He shrugged. "Fight it maybe. Try to talk to Mom. Something. Your mother handed me divorce papers in front of 25 people. What exactly was there to talk about?" Arnold didn't have an answer for that. "She told us you two had been having problems for years," he said finally. "That you weren't the same person she married. That you'd just given up on everything. And you believed her. She's our mom. I'm your father. You didn't think to ask me about it before you started clapping?" His face went red. Look, we thought we were supporting her. She made it seem like this was something she needed to do to be happy. Maybe it was. Maybe she'll be very happy divorced. But that doesn't change the fact that you two chose a side without knowing what the other side was. I grabbed the sandpaper I needed and started walking toward the register. Arnold followed. "Tracy and I have been talking," he said. "We think maybe we judged the situation too fast." "You think?" "Mom's been staying with Mia for over a month now. She keeps talking about finding an apartment, but every place she looks at is too expensive. And she's upset about the house thing." "The house thing?" "Yeah. She didn't know you'd paid it off. She didn't know it was only in your name." I stopped walking and turned to face him. "Arnold, your mother and I were married for 26 years. I paid every single mortgage bill, every property tax payment, every insurance premium. She saw the statements. She knew where the money went. The only thing she didn't know was that I'd made the final payment early, and that's because she didn't ask. She says you hid it from her. I deposited my paycheck, paid the bills, and saved what was left over. Same thing I did for 26 years. The only difference is this time I didn't announce it because I was starting to suspect she was planning something exactly like what she did at my party." Arnold looked down at his shoes. They were expensive, some brand I didn't recognize. Probably cost more than I spent on clothes in 6 months. "She's talking to her lawyer about the asset division," he said quietly. I figured she would. "Betty says you're being unreasonable. Betty can say whatever she wants. The facts are in the court filing. Your mother is welcome to challenge any of them if she thinks they're wrong." I paid for my sandpaper and walked out. Arnold didn't follow this time. That afternoon, Shane called. "We got a response to our response," he said. "That was fast. Betty Holt doesn't mess around. She's claiming the house should be considered marital property regardless of whose name is on the deed, citing the length of the marriage and the contributions April made to the household." What contributions? That's the interesting part. They're claiming her part-time income and her management of household affairs constitute significant non-financial contributions that entitle her to half the home equity. I sat down at the kitchen table. She worked 15 hours a week at a boutique and spent most of her paycheck on clothes. And household management meant she decided what color to paint the bathroom. I know, and the judge will know too, but they're going to fight this. Let them fight. It's going to cost you in legal fees. How much? Could be a few thousand by the time we're done. Maybe more if it goes to a hearing. "Shane, I've got 40,000 in savings and a paid-off house. I think I can afford a few thousand to make sure the facts are clear." He laughed. "Fair enough. I'll draft our counter to their response." 2 days later, I was getting my oil changed when Tracy texted, "Can we meet for coffee?" I typed back, "When? Tomorrow? 10 a.m.? That place on 5th Street." "Fine." I showed up at 10 exactly. Tracy was already there, sitting at a corner table with some fancy drink that had whipped cream and caramel on top. I ordered black coffee and sat down across from her. "Thanks for coming," she said. "You asked." She picked at her napkin for a second. "I talked to Arnold. He said he ran into you at the hardware store." "He did. He said you were pretty upset with us." "I wasn't upset. I was honest. Dad, we didn't know what was going on. Mom made it sound like the divorce was mutual, like you both wanted it, but she was just the one who made it official. And you didn't think to call me and ask? She looked up. Would you have told us? I would have told you the truth. That your mother had been acting different for months. That she'd been meeting with lawyers. That she was planning to serve me papers at the most public moment possible to make some kind of point. She said you knew it was coming. I suspected something was coming. I didn't know she'd do it at my retirement party with you two there to cheer her on. Tracy's eyes got red around the edges. We weren't cheering for you to get hurt. We were cheering for Mom to finally stand up for herself. Stand up for herself against what? Me working 60-hour weeks for 30 years? Me paying every bill on time? Me making sure you two had college funds and a roof over your heads? She said you'd stopped caring. That you just went to work and came home, and that was it. I went to work and came home and paid for the life your mother wanted. The house she picked out. The vacations she planned. The car she drove. And when I finally retired after 3 decades, she served me divorce papers. Tracy wiped her eyes. She's having a hard time, Dad. I'm sure she is. Mia's getting tired of her staying there. And every apartment she looks at wants first month, last month, and a security deposit. She doesn't have that kind of money saved up. Then she should have thought about that before she filed for divorce. That's cold. No, Tracy. Cold is serving your husband divorce papers at his retirement party. Cold is planning it for months without saying a word. Cold is dragging your kids into it, so they clap when you humiliate their father in public. I'm not being cold. I'm being clear. She didn't say anything for a long time. Just sat there staring at her whipped cream drink. The house thing is true? She asked finally. It's really just in your name? Yes. And you paid it off? 4 months ago. Does that mean Mom gets nothing? It means Mom gets exactly what she's entitled to under the law, which is half of the joint checking account, which I already gave her access to, and whatever she can prove she contributed financially to the marriage. Her lawyer is trying to argue she should get more. My lawyer is showing why she shouldn't. Tracy stood up. She hadn't touched her drink. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For what? For clapping. For not asking your side. For assuming Mom was right. She walked out before I could respond. I finished my coffee, black and bitter, and drove home to the house that was paid off and mine. 7 weeks down. 5 to go. 3 months to the day after the retirement party. I was replacing the weather stripping on my front door when a car pulled into the driveway. Not April's car. A small sedan I didn't recognize. April got out of the passenger side. Mia was driving. I kept working on the weather stripping. April walked up the path and stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. We need to talk, she said. About what? About this. She held up some papers. About what your lawyer is doing. Shane's doing his job. He's trying to take everything from me. I pressed the weather stripping into place and stood up. Shane's responding to the petition you filed. The one where you tried to take half of a house you don't own and claim spousal support from someone you publicly divorced. Mia had gotten out of the car now. She stood by the driver's door like she wasn't sure if she should come closer or stay put. April came up 2 steps. I lived in this house for 18 years. You did. I raised our children here. You did. And now you're saying I have no right to any of it. I'm saying you have the rights the law gives you, which doesn't include a house that's titled in my name, that I inherited the down payment for, and that I paid every single mortgage payment on for 18 years. We were married. We were. Past tense. You ended that. At my retirement party. Remember? Her face was red now. Betty says we can fight this. That a judge will see you're trying to hide assets. I'm not hiding anything. Every account is listed in the filing. Every asset is documented. You just don't like what the documentation says. You paid off the mortgage without telling me. I paid off the mortgage 4 months before you served me divorce papers. Papers you'd been planning with your lawyer for who knows how long. You want to talk about hiding things? Let's talk about that. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I needed to make sure I was protected, and I needed to make sure my house was paid off before I retired. We both got what we needed. Mia called out from the driveway. April, maybe we should go. April ignored her. The apartment I found wants $4,000 to move in. First month, last month, deposit. I don't have $4,000. You have half of the joint checking. That's over $4,000. I need that for living expenses. Then find a cheaper apartment. There are no cheaper apartments. Not in areas that are safe, not that allow pets. You don't have a pet. I'm getting a cat. I almost laughed. 26 years of marriage. She never wanted a pet because they were too much work. Now she was getting a cat. April, you filed for divorce. You made that choice. These are the consequences of that choice. I'm not responsible for finding you an apartment or funding your new life. Betty says you're being vindictive, that you're punishing me for leaving. Betty's a lawyer. She's supposed to say that. It's her job to fight for you. Just like it's Shane's job to make sure you only get what you're actually entitled to. I gave you 26 years. And I gave you 26 years right back. Paid every bill. Put food on the table. Made sure the kids had what they needed. And when you decided that wasn't enough, I signed the papers you handed me without arguing. That's not punishment, April. That's me accepting what you wanted. She was crying now. Not dramatic sobbing. Just tears running down her face. This isn't how it was supposed to go. How was it supposed to go? I was supposed to. She stopped, wiped her eyes. Mia said I deserved better. That I'd spent all these years taking care of everyone else, and now it was my turn. That I could travel, do things I wanted, not just be someone's wife. And you can do all of that. As a divorced woman. On your own budget. You don't understand. Betty said I'd get the house money. She said with your retirement and the equity, I'd be set up. That I could afford a nice place and still have money for. Betty was wrong. Or she didn't ask the right questions. Either way, that's between you and her. Mia was walking up the path now. April, come on. We should go. April didn't move. What am I supposed to do? Get a full-time job. Find an apartment you can afford. Build the life you said you wanted. You're 51 years old and healthy. Figure it out. I can't believe you're being like this. You served me divorce papers in front of my coworkers, and our children clapped. I signed them and moved on with my life. I'm not being anything except done. Mia took April's arm. Come on. April let herself be led back to the car. At the door, she turned around. The kids are ashamed of you, you know. Tracy told me. Tracy apologized to me last week. Over coffee. Said she was sorry for clapping and for not asking my side of things. So if she's ashamed of anyone, I don't think it's me. April got in the car. Mia backed out of the driveway faster than she needed to. I went back to the weather stripping. That evening, Arnold called. Mom came to see you today. She did. She's really upset. I noticed. Dad, she's staying in Mia's guest room. Mia's husband is getting annoyed. She needs to find a place. Then she should find a place. She doesn't have enough money saved up. Arnold, I've explained this to Tracy and I'll explain it to you. Your mother chose to end this marriage. She filed the papers. She planned the whole thing. The financial consequences of that choice are hers to deal with. I'm not going to fund her new independent life. But you have the money. The house is paid off. You've got savings. And I earned all of it. Every dollar. While your mother worked part-time and spent most of what she made on herself. I'm 53 years old, Arnold. I just retired. This is the money I'm going to live on for the rest of my life. I'm not giving half of it away because your mother had unrealistic expectations about what divorce would look like. Silence on the phone. She said Betty's going to file something. Try to get the judge to make you sell the house anyway. Betty can file whatever she wants. The house is in my name. The deed proves it. The payment history proves I paid for it. She can argue all she wants, but the law is pretty clear. What if she wins? She won't. But what if she does? Then I'll deal with it. But I don't think she will. Arnold was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Tracy told me she apologized to you. She did. I should have too. At the hardware store. I should have said I was sorry for clapping. You should have. I'm saying it now. I'm sorry, Dad. We screwed up. We believed Mom without checking, and that was wrong. Yes, it was. Are you ever going to forgive us? I thought about that. About watching them clap while their mother humiliated me. About the weeks of silence after. About Tracy's apology over coffee and Arnold's call now. I don't know yet, I said, but I appreciate you asking. He hung up a minute later. I made dinner. Pork chops, the thick ones April never bought because they were too fatty. Mashed potatoes with real butter. Green beans from a can because I didn't feel like chopping fresh ones. My phone buzzed. Text from Shane. Betty filed emergency motion for temporary support. Hearing next week. You available Tuesday at 2? I texted back. I'll be there. 1 week until the hearing. 12 weeks since the party. April was finally understanding what she'd done, and it was nothing like what she'd expected. The hearing lasted 40 minutes. Betty argued that April needed temporary support because she had no income and nowhere to live. Shane showed the judge April's work history, her ability to work full-time, and the half of the joint checking she'd already received. The judge was a woman in her 60s, reading glasses, no patience for nonsense. Mrs. Barnes, she said, looking over the papers. You filed for divorce. You served the papers publicly. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, but... And you were aware your husband had recently retired? Yes. but I didn't know about the house. The house that's been in his name for 18 years? The one with public records showing he made every payment. April didn't answer. The judge looked at Betty. Your emergency motion for support is denied. Mrs. Barnes is perfectly capable of working full-time. The asset division will proceed according to the existing filings. She closed the folder. We're done here. Outside the courthouse, April stood on the steps with Betty, both of them looking defeated. I walked past without saying anything. Shane caught up with me at my truck. That went well. It did. She'll probably try to settle now. Avoid a full trial. Let her try. 2 weeks later, Betty called Shane with a settlement offer. April would take the remainder of the joint checking, her car, and her personal belongings. No house, no support, no ongoing claims. I accepted. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. I didn't attend. Shane handled the paperwork. That weekend, I was staining the deck when Tracy and Arnold showed up. Together. We wanted to see how you were doing, Tracy said. I'm good. Deck needed staining. They helped me finish. Didn't talk much, just worked. When we were done, I made burgers on the grill. We ate on the back porch, watching the sun go down. Mom moved into a one-bedroom across town, Arnold said. She got a job at a department store. Full-time. Good for her. She's angry. She'll get over it. Tracy looked at me. Are we okay? You and us. I thought about it. We're getting there. They left around 8. I cleaned up the grill and went inside to my house. My paid-off house. Quiet, clean mine. I didn't hear from April again. 6 months later, I ran into Mia at the grocery store. She told me April was dating someone, a guy who worked at the tire shop. Seemed nice enough. She's doing okay, Mia said carefully. Good. Are you doing okay? I thought about my quiet house, my savings account, my truck, my kids slowly coming back around. Yeah, I said. I'm doing just fine. And I was.